Summary of Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. When Edana, wakes up in the hospital, her left arm has been cut off. Her husband, Kevin, walks in, and the two of them hope that the cops won't keep looking into what happened. On June 9, 1976, Dana and Kevin were moving to a new house in Los Angeles, California. That's when trouble started. Dana gets dizzy and passes out. When she wakes up, she is at a river where a little boy is dying. Even though the boy's mother yells at her, Dana saves the child and gives him CPR. The boy's father comes and points a gun at Dana, but before the man can shoot, Dana is taken back to her house. Kevin kneels down next to Dana and tells her she was only gone for a few seconds, but Dana is sure she was there for a long time saving the boy. Kevin isn't sure if he believes Dana about where she went, but he knows that something very strange is going on. Dana tries to forget what happened, but a few hours later she gets dizzy again and finds herself in a wooden house bedroom. A boy, who looks like an older version of the boy Dana rescued from the river, is looking at his curtains burning in the corner of the room. Dana throws the curtains out the window and then tries to talk to the boy to find out what's going on. The boy's name is Rufus, and when he was 5, he almost drowned and then Dana saved him. When Rufus keeps calling Dana, who is black, a nigger, Dana starts to think she is in the South before the Civil War. Rufus says that it is 1815 and that they are on the Weylin farm near the town of Easton in Maryland. Dana figures out that she must be moving through space and time, but she doesn't know how. Dana has a hazy memory of an old family Bible that said Dana's great-great-grandmother Hagar Weylin was the daughter of Rufus Weylin and Alice Greenwood Weylin. Dana figures out that she has to go back in time and save Rufus every time his life is in danger if she wants her own family to live. Dana sneaks out of Rufus's house and goes for Alice's family home in the woods to avoid meeting Rufus's cruel father again. Rufus tells her where to go and tells her that Alice is a free black and one of his friends. As Dana gets closer to the house, white guys on horses start to scare the black family who lives there. These patrollers are supposed to keep the slaves in order, but in reality, they just like to torture black people. They beat Alice's mother and drag her father away for leaving the Weylin farm without a pass. Dana sneaks up to the house after they leave and finds a safe place to stay for the night. But when Dana goes outside to get another blanket, she is taken by another patroller who was waiting outside. Dana fights for her life and doesn't want the patroller to rape her, so she finally knocks the man out. Dana is scared that the man will kill her when he wakes up, so she tries to run away but gets too dizzy and passes out. Dana is back home with Kevin when she wakes up. Dana says she went back in time, and Kevin figures out that she must go back in time when Rufus is afraid he will die and come back to the present when she is afraid of dying. The couple put together a survival bag for Dana in case this happens again. Dana and Kevin met when Dana was working at another temporary job to make money so she could write at night. Kevin also writes, and he has a book out. The two become close because they are both alone and have lost their parents. Soon after, they start dating. People at work make comments about the fact that Kevin is white and Dana is black, but Kevin and Dana don't pay much attention. Back in the present, Kevin helps Dana clean up after the patroller beat her up. But Dana then feels sick and makes Kevin go with her back to Rufus's time. Rufus is lying on the ground after breaking his leg when he fell out of a tree. A young slave boy named Nigel looks on, not sure what to do. Dana sends Nigel to get Rufus's father. He comes back with a wagon and a big slave named Luke. They get Rufus back home, and Rufus's dad, Tom, lets Dana stay with Rufus. Kevin claims to be Dana's master to avoid questions, and while Rufus's leg is broken, he starts to teach him. Dana moves in and helps the cook, Sarah, and Sarah's deaf daughter, Carrie. When Rufus's strict father and emotional mother, Margaret, are not around, Dana reads to Rufus. Even though Dana is schooled like a white person, everyone in this time expects her to act like a slave. This makes it hard for her to fit in. Dana eventually starts teaching Nigel to read, but Tom catches the two of them in the cookhouse. Tom drags Dana out into the yard and beats her so badly that she starts to wonder if he is trying to kill her. Kevin hears the noise and goes to the yard, but he can't get to Dana before she goes back to the present. Kevin and Dana chose to get married, even though their remaining family members didn't agree with a marriage between two people of different races. Dana doesn't feel at home in their new house, which they bought together, without Kevin there. She carefully tries to wash the scars from the lashes on her back, and after 8 days of healing in the present, she is called back to the past. She finds herself in the trees with Rufus, who is now a young man. She watches as Rufus fights a young black man. Dana talks Isaac out of killing Rufus, even though Rufus raped Alice after Isaac married Alice. Isaac and Alice run away and head north, while Dana takes Rufus back to the Weylin house. Dana finds out that Kevin waited for her for a long time. However, Dana has been gone for 5 years, and Kevin is now in the north. Rufus agrees to let Dana write Kevin a message, but he makes her burn a book about slavery and a map of Maryland so she can't run away on her own. After 4 days, patrollers catch up with Alice and Isaac. Rufus goes to town and buys Alice back, while Isaac is treated very badly and sold to Mississippi. Alice is in bad shape after being beaten by the patrollers and chased by the dog packs, but Dana is able to nurse her back to health and keep her wounds from getting sick. As Alice gets better, Rufus makes Dana try to persuade Alice to be his lover. Alice doesn't like it, but she does it to keep from getting in trouble again. Alice finds Dana's letter to Kevin, which was never sent, in Rufus's room. Dana chooses not to trust Rufus, so she runs away on her own. She sneaks away and makes it past Easton Town, but another slave turns her in. Tom and Rufus find Dana, bring her back, and give her a good whipping. After a week of getting better, Dana learns that Tom wrote to Kevin on her behalf. When Kevin gets there, he and Dana try to get away from the Weylin house. On the road, they run into Rufus, who threatens to shoot first Kevin and then Dana if they don't leave. When Rufus points his gun at Dana's face, she gets scared enough to send herself and Kevin back in time. Kevin has a hard time getting used to the present again after spending 5 years in the past trying to help slaves escape while staying alive. He can't even write anymore, and Kevin's face and words remind Dana of Tom and Rufus. After a few hours at home, Dana is taken back to the past and finds Rufus passed out in the middle of a heavy rainstorm. She and Nigel bring Rufus back to the house, and Tom gives Dana the job of treating Rufus's malaria. Dana does her best with the little she knows about medicine. The Weylins have been married for 6 years, and Alice and Rufus have a son named Joe. Dana still wants Hagar to be born so she can be free of the Weylin family. Tom has a heart attack and dies after Rufus gets better. Rufus blames Dana, even though there was nothing Dana could have done. He sends Dana out to the field to work hard all day under the harsh overseer's whip. Rufus then gives Dana the easy job of being a servant to Margaret, who is now hooked to laudanum, as a way to say sorry. Rufus also puts Dana in charge of the house now that she is educated. He seems to think of Alice and Dana as his wife's two halves. Alice has another kid, Hagar, and plans to leave as soon as the baby is big enough to handle the trip. Dana tries to get Alice to wait and Rufus to let Alice's children go, but neither of them will listen. Then Rufus goes too far when he sells a slave who committed the crime of talking to Dana and making Rufus jealous. Dana cuts her own wrists to send herself back to the present because she no longer feels like she has any control over her life. Kevin helps Dana get medical care for her wrists, and the two of them have 15 days alone to heal and talk about how they feel about each other. They have a tough talk about whether Dana can kill Rufus if she goes on another trip. If Rufus tackles her or tries to rape her, Dana thinks she can. Dana is called back to Rufus on July 4th. She finds him crying outside the Weylin house and learns that Alice killed herself in the barn by hanging herself. Rufus punished Alice for trying to run away again by making it look like he was selling Joe and Hagar. This made Alice feel so bad that she died of sadness. Dana gets Rufus to be a real father to Joe and Hagar. When he brings the kids back to the Weylin farm from Baltimore, he even writes them certificates of freedom. But Rufus wants Dana to stay with him and raise his kids like a mother. He forces himself on Dana in her room in the attic, so she has no choice but to get her knife out of her emergency bag and stab Rufus. When Rufus dies, Dana is thrown back into the present, but where Rufus's hand was clamped on her arm is cut off and crushed in the wall of her house. Kevin and Dana go to Maryland in the present to find out what happened to the Weylin family after Dana's arm was cut off. Nigel used a fire to hide the fact that Rufus had died, and he and his wife, Carrie, took Joe and Hagar to Baltimore to raise them. Dana knows that she will never know everything about her family's past, and Kevin tells her to stop thinking about Rufus and her other ancestors and focus on the future.
About the author. Butler grew up in Pasadena, where people of different races lived together. She saw her mother and other female cousins get treated badly by their bosses when they worked as maids. Butler was a dreamy and thoughtful child who turned to books and writing to escape. After she graduated from high school, Butler got a lot of casual jobs that let her go to Pasadena City College at night and write in the early mornings. When the Patternist series and Kindred came out in 1979, Butler was able to make a living just from writing. Butler has won many awards for her novels and short stories, including the Hugo for her short story Speech Sounds and Bloodchild and the Nebula Award for her book The Parable of the Talents. In 1995, Butler was the first science fiction writer to get the prestigious Genius Grant from the MacArthur Fellowship, which is given to the best artists in the country to help them do their best work. The Patternist series, the Xenogenesis trilogy, and the Parables series are her most well-known works. Kindred is her most important break from science fiction. Butler moved to Lake Forest Park, Washington, in 1999, and she stayed there until she died.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.